back to a new Hints and Theories video. My name is Julia, and hi, if you're new here on this channel, then let me quickly introduce you what we're going to do. We will have a look at all the hints and theories that happened in the episodes of the, anniversary season of WIDM, and that in the end will hopefully lead us to figure out who the mole is. And here we are back with episode number 2. I really liked that episode. I really liked all of the tasks and what was going on there. So let's not waste any time and right now jump quickly into task number 1. In this task we had 2 groups. One was, enjoying a port tasting. I have to admit that I had the feeling they did not really have to do that much. So I think they could have, gotten another task than just picking one specific port in the end. That was a little bit lame, but I did like all of the other things that happened in the episode. Like the other group who had to choose those barrels, and we should really have a close look on that group because there were some suspicious things going on. First of all, Nathan, of course, was the one with some extra knowledge here, and he tried to use that by, looking at the reactions when it came to figuring out what the heaviest barrel was, but in the end he did not really use it to the fullest, I think. But again, we know Nathan as one really focused candidate who really wants to earn money. So I'm not sure if he really used that knowledge, although he made one really interesting comment when they were on their way, I think, to the task, and that was that he said he's the only one with that knowledge and he will, not share it with the others. And, if he's a candidate, then there's one other person, the mole, who also has the knowledge. So yeah, of course it could be a candidate comment like, I'm the only candidate knowing these things, but we can also interpret it in the direction of I am the only person because I am actually the mole. So I am the one who is the only informed person about this task and how it actually works and how I can sabotage it. Luz acted a bit weird, I think, in that group, especially when it came to the age task, because she came up with 43, but then said something like they need to tell the others that number and then they have to tell them what barrel to choose, which was, absolutely not correct, if I understood it correctly. And in the end, they did not choose for 43. And also some fans tried to, count all of these ages again. And it also could have been that 42 was the correct one, but in the end, they did not choose either of those barrels, and of course then this barrel did not get them any money in the pot. By the way, how amazing was it that Ellie Lust was back in the game? Aether discipline it is. I really liked it that they brought back another person from an earlier season to just join the game and really made her a part of the task again, just like in episode 1 when we had the 9 old winners, and now we have Ellie Lust back, so that was really great. I really liked that. Unfortunately, the other group could not choose the right port Ellie Lust liked so much. Again, one more thing about the barrel group, what also was quite in center, in focus in this episode, was that Kim wanted another barrel when it came to the heaviest barrel. So as I said, Nathan was really looking at the reactions of all of them, and Sahil and Meryl checked the barrels, and later on at first they decided to postpone, so to say, this decision and then come back to it later, and then Kim suddenly said oh, this one is really heavy, although she did not test any of the others. And Sahil also kind of tried to talk to her about that and was like, why do you say this one is the heaviest when it obviously wasn't and you haven't even checked the others? So that was really in focus, and the question is, why would the producers do it like that? Do they want us to think that Kim is suspicious, or is it really in our faces supposed to be like, Kim was suspicious. In the end, I do not think that Kim is that suspicious, to be honest, but it was really a moment they gave us between Kim and Sahil. And one more thing about that heaviest barrel, Merel quickly said like, oh no, we cannot use that barrel one because there's nothing written on it. That actually is suspicious, I think, and could definitely be more action from her. And then there also was the question about the candidate's favorite city in the Netherlands, and I really think Sahil's explanation here was weird. So first of all, I just cannot imagine that he really asked all of the candidates all of the questions of the, questionnaire they had to fill in before they left for the show, and then also remembered all of the details they had filled in right in that moment in the game. And then he explained it with, yeah, my favorite city is Rotterdam, and this person lives in Rotterdam, this person, this person, this person. And while watching it, I thought like, okay, maybe they are living there, but it does not mean that it is their favorite city in the whole country. Like, sometimes you just live there because you're working there, or because it just came in handy, or you moved in with somebody else, or there's so many reasons why you were probably living in that city, and you probably also like that city a lot, but maybe you think another city is prettier, or you would like to live in another city, but it's just not, does not come in handy at the moment. So anyway, there are a lot of reasons why people probably live in Rotterdam but would not say it is their favorite city. And as we heard in one of the other interviews, there were also a lot of people who filled in Amsterdam. So that probably actually was the right answer to it. We do not know that. There are a lot of other cities as options as well, but still, I really found it pretty weird and suspicious that he said immediately it's Rotterdam and did not think about asking the others, not even the people in his group who were there. I get it is complicated doing that via the portaphones, but still he could at least have asked the people being with him. I'm wearing an Amsterdam shirt right now. It wasn't planned, but fits pretty well. Anyway, let's jump to task number 2. A really obvious more action, I think it was that Merel was the only one who had to leave the game. Like, this is for a perfect option for them all, because by doing this, running back to the room too slowly or too late, whatever, just not being in time, it means that you can, make sure that important information, and in that moment she was the first one who had important information for her group, would not get through to the group, so that they were confused, like, hey, where's Meryl? We can't continue, we do not have that information. The other group is confused why they are coming again with question, because they already had given it to them. So this spreads a lot of confusion. You lose time by having to do things twice. And you also just make sure that probably important information gets lost. In the end, of course, they made sure that they still got that answer and it was counted correctly as far as we know. But still, that of course is something a more very likely would do, I think. It is an easy way to more, but also because she was the only one, it is also really obvious. And in episode 2, a more doing that obvious things, I'm not so sure about that. There were other interesting things, by the way, in the task as well. Just think about that note. More is, and then that, numbers, that chemistry formula. I'm sure that a lot of you thought maybe that is a hidden hint. And let me tell you, we could interpret it like that. Because of course, in the WIDM universe, fans are digging into everything, and of course there's also an explanation to that. So this formula actually has a meaning in chemistry, and I will let you see the explanation here to not to dive too deep into chemistry, but it actually stands for, and I have to read it out loud, Avogadro. and Avogadro has starts with an A, but the symbol for Avogadro is NA. And NA, of course, are the first two letters of Nathan. So if that really is into Nathan, then the written note would actually be more is Nathan. And that, of course, yeah, that would be a super hidden hint to show us in the last episode of this special season. So yeah, that would be a really nice, but also really, well, obvious, showing it directly into camera hint. And then another hidden hint was spotted in this task, which is a bit more hidden than the Nathan hint, let's call it like that, but still relatively obvious. They had the task with that coin, and if you have a close look at that coin, you will see that it is not not a euro coin, not 10 cents, or not an US coin or whatever, not an old Portuguese coin, and also not an old Dutch coin. It is a Japanese coin. It was 10 yen, and of course there was a season once that took place in Japan, and that was the season of Kim. So maybe this coin is a hidden hint to Kim as the mole. All in all, most of the things in this task, well, worked out correctly, except for the coin answer. So they actually finally earned a bit more money, which was great, I think, for all the candidates in the group. So I think a really nice task too. And then Rick said there will be another task, and I was like, no test this time. But then, of course, it was a test, but a special one. And I really, really liked the idea. At first, when they stopped the test suddenly, I thought like, oh no, are we going to do that again with they have to fill in 5 questions of a task they have not done yet? But it was something completely different. I personally cannot remember that this has happened before. I have to admit that I have not watched any of the super early seasons because they are unfortunately not available online. But if you remember it from any mole season, maybe from another country, that can also be possible, then yeah, let me know that in the comments below, please. But still, I really liked that idea. I thought it was really interesting to also see the reactions. I thought Luz was really shocked in the beginning. I know she's an actress, so you also have to be careful with that. But when Rick said that it would be a candidate who had chosen that the mole is a man who has to leave the game, I think her reaction, well, looked quite shocked. And I really think we have an anti-mole action here from Annemarie, because she said, and I was really impressed by her saying that out loud, she said that she would choose the 1,500 euros because even though she's one of the candidates who could maybe leave the game, it is not sure that her chances of staying in the game get any higher by failing in those 5 questions. So I, think we should choose the 1,500 euro because either one of you gets that or I get it. So let's get the money, let's choose for the money. And I really like that, but I also think that's a really candidate way to see the whole game. And she added up on that by saying afterwards, after Richard left, it is about finding the mole, but it also is about getting a high pot. And I think that is really something a candidate would say. And I also thought it is something that we missed a bit in the recent years, because the pot always was so low, and some people at least were criticizing that the candidates only focus on staying long in the game and only focus on finding the mole and not collecting money. And Annemarie's season, happened a few years ago, and then probably the mindset was a bit different back then. Like, we really, really want to collect the money to get more money in the pot. And I really thought this came a bit through in that situation, and I really liked it. But I think and would say right now that we should count this as an anti-mole action from Annemarie. And also interesting here is that Zahil, although he was not one of those risk candidates, he said that he had chosen the mole as a man, although he had actually chosen the mole as a woman, and was because of that was safe. So actually he tried to play a bit with the others, and then in the interview said, yeah, I wanted to see who else had voted for a man and wanted to see the reaction and all of that. But in the end, if Sahil's the mole, then his goal would be that they would continue the test, because that would mean no extra money in the pot. And by doing that and by voting for I want to continue, it actually could be a mole action from him. Like he wanted to say, okay, the majority of the group was for the man, maybe the majority should really say we should continue the test to make sure that we get a higher chance of staying in the game. And yeah, in the end it did not work out, but it did make him a bit more suspicious here, I think. At least he tried a bit to more here. That were all the things so far from this episode. I'm sure you've spotted all the things as well, so let me know that in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Yeah, you can of course also share that with me. And if you have not followed this account here, then of course you can always subscribe, it's free. And I really like to hear all of your thoughts on this new episode, and also how cool was that trailer in the end, that they are also doing a new season with non-famous Dutch people. I really hope that maybe when it then finally airs at some point, very likely next year I guess, that also the international fans will have a chance to watch this, because last year of course it really only was a streaming season, and I know that a lot of you couldn't watch it, which was very unfortunate. And actually it was a cool season, so I'm glad that they're doing it again, but I also hope that there will be an option for all of you guys to watch it as well. Anyway, let me know all of your thoughts, ideas, hidden hints and theories you have so far. Let me know if you have any actual suspect at the moment. I am still a bit unsure about it, to be honest. I have a lot of people who I do not suspect that much, but not really a favorite one so far. And yeah, just tell me all of it in the comments below. Subscribe to this channel here, and I hope to see you all back next week when we will talk about episode number 3. Until then, bye!